The entire world knows about China's massive leaps in technology. It isn't just EVs, batteries, sustainable energy, we all know about them. But here are a few things Western media are not covering. I recently read that China has done some incredible firsts. Mao Ning of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs posted quite recently that China has, in the last year, created world firsts in several different fields. At sea, the country has just launched an aircraft carrier that uses electromagnetic launch. It was launched on time, in budget, and is way more advanced than anything the US or UK or Europe can produce. Slowly but surely, China has become the world's most dominant maritime power. And this is important. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs neglected to mention this, but not one of China's Navy ships has ever been used in any aggressive situation. Most of the world knows that China has hypersonic missiles, so I'm not going to dwell too much on this, other than to say that most of the world don't really know what hypersonics China has. Here's a few new developments not being touted by Western media. One is the world's first standard aviation oblique detonation engine, which would reach a speed of Mach 16. Now let me say that in English. This is a standard aviation engine, which could soon be in Chinese planes, carrying Chinese tourists to the other side of the world in an hour or so. Mach 16 is almost 12,000 kilometers an hour. They also have something called the Feitian 2, which travels autonomously at Mach 12 and might be great for loading up with a gift for Washington. It could be launched here and land there within 90 minutes. But all within a few days of these announcements, China went one step further and have demonstrated a new engine capable of circling the globe in 2 hours at Mach 20. Imagine in the future we'll be able to leave Beijing at 7 a.m., have breakfast in London, morning tea in New York, and be back in Beijing in time for lunch. This is not science fiction anymore. It's just a matter of time before this reality becomes a practicality, and it's being done here in China. Most of the world knows that China has the largest high-speed train network globally, but many don't realize that it's already capable of operating at 600 kilometers an hour. There are train lines in use now that operate at 450 kilometers an hour, and the most recent breakthrough was 620 miles an hour, which is 998 kilometers, and faster than any commercial jets. Boeing and Airbus won't be very happy to read about these developments. Mao Ning pointed out China has launched the world's largest cruise liner. Now there's more to this than meets the eye. It's not simply the world's largest cruise liner, which is great. It's a statement. Chinese people are now the world's largest middle class with the world's largest disposable income, and therefore leisure is becoming a huge part of China's GDP. As Western middle classes shrink, as tourism becomes less and less affordable in the G7 world, China is improving in every measurable metric. It's a solid indicator that China's on the right path. And this is important because all those people who believe the China failing narrative and that life under communism must be terrible will never be informed of this development, because if they were, they might actually sit up, take notice, and ask themselves, how come my government tells me communism can't work and socialism is bad for me, when almost every Chinese person has savings in the bank, a nice car, a nice apartment, and can take holidays on these amazing cruise liners? But also at sea, two more things Ms. Mao did not mention was that China has now released a couple of other world firsts. BYD, the car company, has a carrier which is actually the world's largest car-carrying ship, capable of holding 9,000 cars, meaning that China, already the world's largest exporter, is now capable of delivering more EVs to the world at a more affordable price. Not only that, they've launched a hybrid oil tanker. This is a ship with sails. The BBC produced a report about ships with sails being British designed, which is great, but then hidden deep in the article, it quietly alludes to the fact that despite saving 6 tons of oil a day, every day of operation, the ship and sails were built in China. Now China's taking the lead and producing more ships than the rest of the world combined, and many of them will be coming out with adjustable solid sails designed, built and operated by China. Just a few days ago, it was announced that China had launched the world's first oil tanker with adjustable sails. Clearly, at sea, China is leading the world. In the hospital, China is upsetting the world too. They may have found a cure for diabetes and have indeed already reversed the disease in several tests. But that's not all. Instead of the "at what cost" headlines, this one is creating "what about our profit" headlines, as Western pharmaceuticals bemoan that it will destroy the massive income streams created by manufacturing and selling indispensable insulin. I suspect the FDA will sit on this development for many years, and if and when the treatment is available in the US, it'll cost more than a private home to buy. While in China, there will be no more diabetes. We all know that there's a problem with transplants in that they might be rejected by the body's immune system. Two things have come out of this. Well, China's taken that negative point and turned it into a 90% effective cure for cancer. They've tricked the body into believing that a cancer is something the body needs to reject, and in almost every case they've tested, the body has turned on the cancer and killed it. I'm certain Western pharma is not going to want this to be advertised in places where radiation, chemotherapy and operation treatments take them in, or rake them in, billions every year. Also, in medicine, on the subject of these transplants, China has discovered a gene that allows organs to regrow. I have a friend who lost a finger in an accident. Imagine being allowed to get treatment for the finger to grow back. But that's not really the reason that this is good. Kidney, liver, heart transplants will eventually become a thing of the past. I grew up in an era where getting an operation was considered normal. But my grandparents grew up in an era where the operation was new. They had their teeth all taken out without anesthetics. They never complained. Their grandparents had amputations and other operations while biting on a lump of wood or leather. If the movies are to be believed, they may have been drunk while they did it, or perhaps they just died in pain. In another generation or two, people will look back at our clinical procedures today as just as barbaric as we look back at our great-grandparents' era. Away from the military and the medical fields, let's look at what China's laboratories are doing. China has produced animal fodder from carbon. What? It's well known that China is still building coal power plants. Many people are critical of this. The reality is different. They aren't building the smoke-spewing monoliths that we're used to seeing in Western media pictures about China. They're building clean, green facilities with carbon capture. And now a Chinese laboratory has discovered a way to turn industrial carbon dioxide into protein. And I'm not kidding, because this was recently approved by the Ministry of Agriculture to be used as animal fodder. But it gets even better. An even more recent discovery is the fact that CO2 waste can even be turned into sugar, solving several major problems. It needs no land, it generates no CO2 in the process, as farming and sugar and corn does, and it addresses both environmental and population-related challenges, whilst contributing to carbon neutrality. Monsanto and the likes of them, they're not going to like hearing this. I could go on. In fact, I will for a little while. It's a fact that 50 of the world's top 100 AI brains are in China, and those that are not in China, half of them are Chinese. This is absolutely real and incredibly important, because the former leader in global innovations has declared China to be its enemy and is treating even those Chinese geniuses who live in the USA as potential spies. It's not just an indicator of the beginning of the end of US technology dominance. It's the end of the end. It's actually all over now. The US has lost, China has won. And that's what no one in the US is being told. I hope every American who sees this passes it to another American to read or watch. This is real, this is true, it's all verifiable, all underreported by Western media who simply want to have you believe that China can't achieve. China is a threat. China is the cause of your problems. It isn't. And now you know.